Okay, hi. I've been trying to upload a video I made, I don't know, probably Thursday with my normal video camera, talking about, well, now 2 Fridays ago at my doctor visit. I think that maybe the file is too big or because YouTube has been undergoing a change and shift that it created a problem. So I'm going to try and go ahead and use my laptop and then try and use my video camera again from some footage I took from the weekend and see if that works. So this is an update from a doctor's appointment 2 Fridays ago. I went in for clinic for my IV and had my doctor meeting at the same time I was dripping, and I'd gotten some blood work done the day that I drove, the infamous day that I drove, and the results weren't great. I'm not going to talk heavily about the science because most everyone here understands it, and maybe at another point I will, but I was very disappointed. I'm a little more emotionally recovered now, but it's just the tedium of the science combined with being unhappy about it. So anyway, on that appointment, I found out that rather than progressing, I'm regressing in terms of my babesia and other things. One positive that occurred is that my anemia is better in my blood. My serum ferritin is still very, very, very low, which is basically bone marrow, and I don't have much iron there. But my iron in my blood has improved. That was the one source of improvement, which is great for babesia because it eats the oxygen and iron out of your cells. So, but in terms of other testing, I'm regressing. Even though I look bigger, some of my fullness or heaviness is my liver problems. Some is my muscular problems. Like, for example, a year ago, maybe more, I was told I had TMJ. Well, at the time, I was getting a lot of diagnosis and just thought, okay, this is sort of gilding the lily. I don't think I have TMJ. I don't night grind. And it's just, but anyway, through watching makeup tutorials here on YouTube, I was trying to find the hollows of my cheeks, which even though I'm moon-faced, I years ago was able to find, and thought maybe I couldn't find it because I was heavy or something. But then when I really got to feeling up in here, my face is just one big muscle knot, which is what's going on with my body in some cases too. There are a lot of areas of my body, like in my torso and my legs, that are in permanent cramps. Like they're cramped almost as tightly as they can be, which is causing some of my organ problems, not my liver problems, but like my bladder and stuff. That's a nervous system, autonomic nervous system issue and a muscular issue. My muscles are so tight and cramped, they're starting to squeeze my organs together like a woman carrying triplets or something. So anyway, when I was watching the videos, I couldn't find the hollows of my cheeks and found the muscle masses in my face, and my doctor said, yeah, you have TMJ. That was a digression. So anyway, I'm regressing, not progressing. And she was sort of frustrated because since I was looking heavier and less like a drowned river rat than when I came in, it looked like maybe I was progressing. And some things were better just because the symptoms are medicated. But and then she said that I'd been hoping for a pick. And for a long time, my father has had some problems with worrying about infection, about picks and ports. And also money was an issue. But we were sort of reaching the place with Medicaid and in the treatment where we thought a pick might be coming soon. But based on some of her findings, and she did a couple of tests that we weren't able to do before because we couldn't afford them. I'm way too fragile to have a pick. I know that sounds nuts. There's so many fragile people out there that are on pick lines, but my blood work shows me to be sicker than 98% of her patients, even though I'm successfully functioning in some ways. She actually even expressed surprise after looking at the results, that I do as much as that I'm able to do as much as I do. It must be like a strong will, because my blood work looks like a person that shouldn't even be moving. But so anyway, I had really high hopes that a pick might be coming in the next 6 months, and it's not. I'm too fragile. And she said, and I didn't understand, because I had been told that a pick wouldn't be possible, and originally I'd been told that she'd probably be my general practitioner for the rest of my life, or her life, or whatever, for maintenance for some of the genetic issues we found and some of the permanent damage, but that the intense part of treatment would last 4 to 5 years. And I've been there a little over 2 years. And then, based on my recent results and the tests that hadn't been able to be run before, she told me the intense part of the treatment might be 7 years from now. And of course, it could be less, it could be more. I realized that when she gave me the original estimate, but I was heartbroken when I heard that I couldn't have the pick to maybe speed some things up, and that it was going to be, the intense part was going to be a lot longer. I was just really disappointed, and I was figuring things in my head, like, for example, I've always been somebody that, I've always known that I can't have children biologically. I have too many female problems. So I've always really hoped that even if I was alone, I would be able to adopt. And through this process of treatment, I, of course, am very aware that it would be very irresponsible of me to try to adopt a child, nor could any agency allow someone with my current medical status to even be considered. But I had hopes for the future, and they're not completely 100% diminished, but in my state, to do an in-state adoption, which is the least expensive, the oldest you can be when you sign up on the list as a woman is 45. And I'm 33 now, and if I'm looking at 7 years, for about certain, I'll be 40 then, and still have a lot of maintenance to do with permanent damage. So I was sitting there watching that go away, and of course there were other types of projects that I had my heart set on, and where time was an issue, and I was trying to be patient. But so anyway, by the time she got to talking about me being a coma risk, I was just so sad and crying that I didn't really hear the science behind it. Now, I'm sure a lot of us are sort of coma risks, not to scare anyone, because we have a lot of drugs in our body, we have a lot of health issues. And, perfectly normal person can be a coma risk, just depending on what happens in their life. But I guess something's going on, and so that scared me, at the coma risk thing. And if we did an IV antibiotics and drugs, not fluids, but drugs, more than twice a week, that would greatly increase my risk of coma. So it's not something that's possible. Then during the conversation, she said, well, at least you were sort of a healthy child. And my dad was in the room, and he said, oh, no, remember. And she's got so many patients. And so she said, oh, yeah, you weren't a healthy child. But something my dad said made her go back and look in my files from childhood, and something about the rate at which I'm not progressing. She'd gone through all of my files before, but she was, of course, looking for very specific things like beta strap, which I've had since birth, and things that are like Epstein-Barr that I've had since birth. And so anyway, she was looking for specific things in that massive pile. of information. And my dad said something that made her go back and look. And when I had my kindergarten checkup, which is something we do here in the States, I guess I must have been ill then, because they did way more than a normal kindergarten checkup. They drew blood and stuff like that. And she found in my file that my eosinophils that are high, that are indicators of a babesia if they're raised, were like 6 times or something insane what they should have been. And so we now know that I've had babesia since at least my kindergarten checkup, which would have made me 4.5. And I already thought it was really daunting to be treating having some of these things in my body. These things in my body that are causing a degenerative disorder and process. I thought it was daunting that they'd been in there for 17 years or so untreated, but now we know some of them have been in there for 28 years, and it really made me sad and about the medical community to a certain extent, and scared and sort of creeped out. Like, I know it's probably not true, but in a very sci-fi way, I sit around and wonder if genetically I'm almost as much babesia cell as I am me. So Friday just really crushed me. Just to recap, to make sure I covered the things, it's for me, not for you. I've had babesia for 28 years. I'm a coma risk. I can't do a port or a pick. My treatment's going to take a lot longer than we originally estimated. And my dad was talking about some of my childhood and how the first 5 years of my life I never, and he's not a man that exaggerates, I didn't sleep more than an hour a night, and I lived on apple juice, which is a good thing. Apple juice is yummy, but I just think about my parents and how strong they are to have survived sleeping in shifts for the first 5 years of my life, and how their marriage has stayed together, and how they've successfully raised another healthy child in the midst of all of that. And I know we have it really lucky in comparison to a lot of people in the world, but it just breaks my heart that this has been something they've been dealing with for the entirety of my life. And the length of my treatment being extended just really scares me, because it's so stressful for them and upsetting and scary. And, we all in the circle of life expect our parents to go before us, and they really, really want to go before us. It's really hard to watch a child die, and I know my mom's been scared about that some specific occasions within the last couple of years. But I feel like sometimes, because I'm a great source of stress and concern in their lives, and I add extra pressure, that I can be the thing that kills them, and I love them. And so I'm continuing to sort of hide things, like not important things, and but little things, to try and alleviate the number of things they do for me. There's something else I wanted to say. My treatment protocol is going to pretty much stay the same, because we can't do anything much more drastic, and we're working really hard. Right now the focus is to continue to treat the babesia with once or twice weekly IVs and Mapron, etc. And we're really working using herbal and homeopathic and drug-based treatments to get my liver to a higher function, because it's part of the big problem when I have a successful die-off from the drugs I'm taking, my liver isn't able to clean that stuff out. And it has a hard time with some of the other drugs and some food and stuff like that. So the focus is really high on purifying in some of the ways we can and correcting some of my liver problems. And so not much will change. I just was disappointed. And then in terms of like my relationships with people, I was really holding out hope that the relationships that my illness has affected would one day be able to be corrected, because this treatment process wouldn't be the main focus in my life for a long time, but now it's going to be. So it's making me reevaluate what some of my friendships and relationships can tolerate, and whether or not, what to do about that. I'm sorry this is a depressing vlog, but we all have disappointments, and I'm logical. I know I have a lot of really wonderful things happening in my life and friends and just like a gloriously wonderful family. But I just felt like I'd taken a lot of hits lately. I know that they're symptomatic, but hearing about the Parkinson's and the Alzheimer's, and then within the same month hearing coma risk, and that my treatment was going to be extended by many, many, many more years than we originally thought, and the daunting idea that I've contracted some of the things we're fighting, and these things have lived in my body for 28 years. It felt like a little much that day. My doctor is also very rational, and we sought out many, many different kinds of doctors and LLMDs before deciding on her. So it's not like we just went straight to her about the Lyme and stuck there. We tried on other people and decided she was best. But she also understands that now that things have changed, we might want a second opinion, so to speak. So she's recommended that maybe I go see that famous man in Seattle that some of you are being treated by and love so well, because he's somebody that she's studied with and has known a long time, and just to get a second opinion. She's pretty confident in what she's seeing and doing, and pretty certain that we have to move very slowly and cautiously. But she wants us to be certain. I don't know how I'll do with traveling, or if we'll decide just to trust her because she's very noble and trustworthy, or not. But so that's what's going on. I found out that I had contracted this more than a decade earlier than we originally thought, and can't have a pick or report. And but treatment will stay the same. My video is getting really long, and it probably was pretty rambly, so I'm going to come back and do really fun things. Thank you guys for doing the karaoke party. With the YouTube sort of changing formats, I may have missed a few, I'm not sure, but Penguini, your voice is just so beautiful. It's like this beautiful, clear, sweet soprano, and your song was so touching. And Deb, your Big Bad Wolf rocks. Deb and I are she's got some really cool equipment, so we're gonna try and duet, which is awesome. And I think I've rambled long enough. I hope you're all doing well. My heart goes out to all of you all the time. You're always on my mind. And love and light, hugs and kisses. Let's go out on a happy note, and I'll probably vlog fun things. But this is Coco Kitty's singing dog.